now it's recording.
Welcome to British Strength Radio, episode 14?
Nope. Try again. Guess again.
17?
Nope.
12?
Are you getting colder now?
18?
No.
19? 16?
Yes.
16?
Correct, 16.
Welcome to British Strength Radio, episode 16. If you would like to support this and future generations of British Strength Radio, then head over to www.britishstrengthmagazine.com, subscribe to the magazine, and you'll receive all 21
21 at the minute, yeah.
21 back issues absolutely free, and the next issue as well. I'll now hand you over to the podcast host, Big Alexander Clark.
What more can I say?
You might want to redo that.
No, we're not redoing it. Welcome to episode 16 of British Strength Radio with Pretty Powerlifter himself, Andrew Thomas Smith.
Ooh, full name.
How are you doing today, mate? I say the full name because you have the same middle name as my son.
Logan Thomas Clark. Was he named after me?
He was actually named after my friend Tom.
Oh yeah, Big Tom.
Big Tom Bates. But you know, I think it's.
You could have lied and soothed my ego.
No, it has a good double meaning because he is kind of also named after you because I've got a lot of admiration for you. I'm not just saying that here, but I do. I do. You're one of my best mates too, so his middle name serves multiple purposes in that way.
Lovely. Really nice.
Really nice. So how are you doing today?
I'm good, mate. How are you? How was your journey up? Were you on time?
Do you want me to be honest about my journey up?
Be honest. Give the viewers what they want. They want Al moaning.
So, I'm not going to moan. It was all my fault. But right, I live in a place called Darwin, yeah?
Yeah.
Really lovely place, I like it. However, it's about 40 minutes on a good day away from town, away from centre of Manchester.
Did you come from Piccadilly?
No, Victoria.
Victoria. I
set off at about 7:10 and my train is at 8:10, so I was cutting it fine. I knew I was cutting it fine. I didn't set off like by choice at that time. I was just kind of like trying to get out the door and I just didn't manage it. And I knew as a kid.
You're too white.
This is
struggle with those, mate.
Very good. So basically, I knew that I'd be cutting it fine. And what's historically happened when I've missed my train, I've had to pay for another ticket, and they're not cheap either. They're about 60 quid. So this time, I was very, very lucky in that I did get on the next train, and the guy was just absolutely sound. That didn't happen. He just looked at he got my digital ticket and scanned it and just pretended nothing had happened. So I only had to pay for one ticket this time, so that's good. And then, so basically set off at 7, got here at 12:30, just gone 12:30, and your good friend, Robbie, I don't know how to, is it Robbie Masson? Because that's a really good name for some new trains, Robbie.
I mean, I wouldn't separate it, but now that you said it like that, I think it works, doesn't it?
Robbie, and he is actually trying to put some mass on at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, well he has put some mass on, he's happy where he is because
he's going to be competing in Pro Raw.
Yeah, that makes me quite jealous.
That means that out of the 6 British people that have competed in Pro Raw, I don't know how many more are going over. 2 of them will have been from Lift gyms.
Whole third.
A whole third?
Gym.
I don't know how many, it might be more than that, but 2 definitely anyway from Lift gyms.
Yeah.
So hopefully he does better than I did.
Well, he's, what do you think he's looking at, Robbie?
Oh, I don't know, man.
I know he squats 330 at 110.
I think he's going to. I think he'll be 100 for Pro Raw.
Oh yeah, he wants to be 95. He wants to be 95.
Yeah, under 95. Yeah, so I'd imagine somewhere around 330 on both 340 on both squat and deadlift.
Nice.
And then bench is, as he will admit, is his weaker lift, but I think he'd be looking somewhere around 180.
Yeah.
Which would be a good total.
Respectable total. Yeah, definitely respectable. So, let's move back to you. Okay, so just because the community of people, the community of powerlifting sometimes tends to not recognise quality maybe as it should. It's, what?
Nothing, carry on.
You know, they kind of look at the guys with the massive lifts and, you know, the most ridiculously jacked bodies. Not to say that you're not jacked.
So you're calling me weak and not jacked?
No, I'm saying that you are multifaceted.
Oh, good.
In your talents. you're multi-talented even. Okay, so basically, because people don't always recognise quality and sometimes they skim over these people who really should be followed, just tell us a bit about what you do. You're a powerlifter, but you're not just a powerlifter.
Yeah, so I guess the place to start would be my education, and I'm a self-professed nerd. Studied PE and biology at A level, which then led me on to my undergrad in sports therapy. Graduated from the University of Central Lancashire with a first-class honours degree in sports therapy and an award from the exam board for outstanding achievement in that field, which then allowed me to get into my incredibly competitive master's degree. So I think there was, if not 100, very close to, definitely over 90 people that applied to a master's in strength and conditioning at the University of Edinburgh, and only 11 of us got in, myself included. So studied that. Somewhere in between the two, I realised I wasn't good enough to become professional at rugby. I think I knew anyway, to be honest. And so I kind of put that to one side, concentrated on my career instead. And then at the time I was working at Virgin Active in Preston, and my boss was none other than Martin Brown. And he introduced me to powerlifting, and turned out I was quite good at it. So I kind of pursued that for a while, but then various different reasons just missed rugby too much and got back into that. So yeah, now play rugby, do triathlons and powerlift, all three of which are to a decent standard. Triathlons less so because it's my newest kind of venture. So powerlifting wise, highlights, actual highlights, not just like crappy divisional records that don't mean anything. GPC Euros in 2016, I came second overall, and there was a 110, a 125 that were the other lifters on the podium, but none of them were from Britain. Were they, Al?
None of them were me.
No.
And I was at that competition, competing. So
beat 'em.
it's almost like you beat me, but really you didn't, because it was on some arbitrary formula.
But you weren't even
It wasn't
good
even
enough.
Wilkes, so
You weren't even good enough to get me on that formula like the other 125s were you, Al?
not back then.
No.
But I think I would beat all of those 125s now. I would beat you now.
But that's not the point.
No, you did very well to come second. If you can come second in an international
Overall.
Then you've done pretty well, because you've done very well, because some of those lifters there were no joke. So
It was in Finland as well, so there's
Yeah.
decent lifters there.
good country for powerlifting.
Yeah, definitely. And then getting my invite to and competing at Pro Raw was
Yeah.
awesome. Amazing experience, and really cool to be considered to be good enough to go and lift there, which was based on the back of what is probably my personal favourite memory of powerlifting, which was winning the GPC Brit at 82.5, 5.5 months after breaking my tib into 3 pieces.
Yeah,
That's my tibia, which is my shin bone, if viewers aren't.
that was a fucking nasty injury at the time,
Yeah.
and the way you came back from it was nasty, but in a good way.
Nasty boy!
Yeah, I saw your X-ray and stuff, and I remember, like, on the day that you did it, you messaged our group, and it was just, yeah, it wasn't good, was it?
No, it's pretty bad. I was lucky that my fib didn't go, which interestingly the doctors think was because it was so strong from actually pulling sumo. It was used to all those forces. So what happened was the guy smacked into my leg, which fractured it horizontally. Then the force of the impact, as we were both sliding for a ball on the floor, flipped me up in the air, and I landed fully on the already broken bone. So then it fractured vertically both ways down and up from the horizontal fracture. But my fib took my entire body weight, landing straight down on it. So normally that would be a compound fracture where the leg bone just completely buckles, but they said my fib was strong enough that it took my body weight, and I took like 2 steps afterwards, sat down on the floor and went, "Can somebody help? I think I've broken my leg."
Oh my god, I bet you were in shock at that point, and you had so much adrenaline, and you were just like,
It didn't hurt. It's the weirdest thing. I'm sure anyone else who's broken a bone will agree. When I was lying there on the floor, it didn't hurt. It was a bit nippy when the physio was like taking my sock off and my boot off and stuff. The most painful part was when I was in hospital and I got my leg casted, and I was on morphine, so they were holding my leg like, see if we can get this on camera. They were holding my leg. One person was fixing it here, another person was fixing it here. The fracture's here, and and there's a third person fixing it there, and then someone wrapping the plaster around.
Interestingly enough, you won't be able to see this on camera. It won't pick it. Actually, you can. It does pick it up. You can see the actual the curvature in your shin bone.
Comparison. Straight shin bone, curvy shin bone. So yeah, I have a rod, full length of my shin, 2 screws here and 1 screw in the knee here.
Yeah, that's so commendable that you came back from that. It's fine. It's so commendable that you came back from that, and I think one of the things that you can attribute to that is just like your attitude. I've always taken the piss out of it, but you're so ridiculously optimistic that you believe that things will happen so hard that don't seem realistic, that they end up just happening. But that is how you should be. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to be like that. It's just never going to happen. The world isn't going to be like that, but you're like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, there's videos and stuff on my Instagram, like 2 days after it happened, and I'm on my sofa and I'm doing things like hip flexor lifts and leg extensions. I took myself off my painkillers after a couple of days, because you need to be aware of pain isn't a bad thing, pain's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to be aware. I knew I was going to push it. I needed to be aware of how, if I was pushing it too hard, basically. I was benching again after 6 days with my feet up, obviously, doing chin-ups, loads of back work, deadlifts with my boot on, and then after 9 days, which is the quickest I've ever seen at that hospital, I was out of my boot again and back to full weight bearing, which is attributed to the pin as well.
Yeah.
The pin allows you to weight bear straight away, but then out of my boot completely after 9 days.
I remember you saying at the time that you were one of the quickest recovery they've ever seen.
Yeah, the surgeon couldn't believe it when I came back in. The nurse was telling me I'd have another 3 to 4 weeks in my boot, and there was a footballer with the same injury, fractured tib, and I was chatting to him in the waiting room, obviously, and he'd been in his boot so far for 4.5 weeks.
Oh.
A lot of it, though, is mentality. You can weight bear, you just have to trust the pin.
And knowledge as well. You've got like probably supreme knowledge on your side.
Yeah, that's part of the undergrad is going over fracture healing, and as fractures go, you want to fracture a long bone, and you don't want it to be displaced. And I had all of the tick boxes for a quick fracture recovery.
Mm-hmm.
The scariest part, the hardest part, was actually once I got out my boot, because it was in winter, so all the roads were kind of icy, so I felt genuine fear every time I stepped out my flat. That was honestly the hardest part, was just walking again on icy surfaces. That was the hardest part of the whole thing, because when you're in the gym it's fine, and when you just sat at home doing your exercise it's all fine. But yeah.
Do you ever think, before we make this too philosophical, do you ever feel like when you're actually coming back up from a difficult place, you're almost happier because you're on the rise again? Do you know what I mean? Because like every day it was a bit of an achievement. Do you know what I mean?
Kind of. I think anytime anyone overcomes a challenge, you feel a certain sense of satisfaction. And like you said, every day, you see it's almost like being a noob again.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing like gains literally like every day, adding like 5, 10, 15 kilos to your squats and stuff. So yeah. But then there is always a psychological component, and then there are challenging times. Like the first time I tried to lunge again, and I just fell over because I just couldn't. I didn't have any strength in my leg to do that. Like squatting 60 kilos and being elated, but then also being depressed as anything because it's only 60 kilos. But yeah, like there's definitely no pressure. Like I said, I'd come back and I'd win the Brits, and I did. But I don't think anybody believed that was going to happen. So if I didn't, everyone's just like, "Oh, you did so well to come back." But that's my mindset isn't to do well.
It's not good enough for a pretty powerlifter.
That's it. That's it.
So just last thing on the injury front. Do you remember when was it Anderson Silva who did a similar one? That was scary.
So that was tib and fib.
Was it?
Yeah, that's why the leg folded.
Yeah, he didn't even realise that he'd done it, and then he went to step. Oh, so this is why I don't do any real sports. That and my lack of cardio conditioning and coordination and athleticism, and but yeah, that was a scary one. Past that, other achievements in powerlifting. That's not where it ends. I think you were. Did you have some type of on the list of the British records? You were.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I can't. This was pre-open powerlifting, so I don't know how accurate these things were. But I believe for a while I was second on the all-time list in the UK at 75 kilos.
Yeah.
Baby weight classes, no one cares about. Simon Williams step up to 82s. But no, like
always called him out.
Siding would thrash me in a comp, no doubt about that. But yeah, I mean, those are the main ones, the ones I've lifted. They're the ones that stand out.
Right. Okay. So you mentioned. Just want to ask one question. You mentioned that you worked with Martin Brown, right? You worked for legendary British powerlifter who is Martin Brown.
Yeah.
Do you have any good stories of when you worked for Martin Brown?
None that can be repeated on the podcast, I don't think.
Okay, let's move on then.
Yes, let's move on.
Shout out Martin Brown, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll come and see you soon, because we only live 10 minutes away from each other now, and we've kind of left it too long for a catch-up, I think. Yeah,
I'll be back to that neck of the woods in March for Tattooed and Strong. So yeah, looking forward to catching up with Brown then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. So let's talk about rugby a bit. What are you doing at the minute in rugby?
Mainly focused around sevens. So for those that don't know, that's rugby sevens. It's 7 players per side on a full-size pitch. You have 2 7-minute halves, and then finals are often 10 or 14 minutes. So you can play up to 6 matches on the same day. Tournaments last all day. Lot less contact. Well, some teams there's a lot less contact than in 15s. And I play for 2 teams. One would be the Cats. I've not played with them for a while, but they are a highly successful team, and my highlight with them would be winning Dubai Sevens in 2016. And then the other team is the Hearts and Balls OVs, which is a kind of like a charity sevens team. So under the banner of the Hearts and Balls charity, which is raising awareness of different types of cancer in men. So I play for them, and we play on the King of Sevens circuit, as well as the local Scottish circuit. So, yeah.
That's pretty good. It seems like it's got like quite a few levels that are accessible to you. I mean, even the cat stuff, like, I don't know what level the cat stuff is at, but a lot of the stuff you post up, although you guys are obviously quite good, it seems quite light-hearted. If that makes sense.
Sevens is always more fun, because it's in summer and you're there for like all day, so you've got to have a laugh in between and stuff as you do it. But yeah, no, sevens is a great sport. If anyone's looking to get into rugby, it's a really accessible form to get into it for as well, for sure.
Probably need more conditioning, more speed for sevens.
Definitely, because there's only 7 of you on the pitch. You have to be fast. 1, to get round opposition players in attack, and 2, to cover in defence. Because if you've got any weak parts to your game, they will be picked out in sevens. There's no hiding place.
Sounds pretty interesting. Just the fact that there are so many different ways you can play almost the same sport, really, isn't it? If you think about it, you've got like a let's call it the same thing, Australian rules football, if that's what you call it, Australian.
AFL, yeah.
Yeah, AFL. So, and then you've got rugby league, and you've got rugby union, and you've got sevens. So many different.
There's also rugby X as well, 5-a-side rugby now.
Right, there you go then. It's pretty cool how the same sport can have so many different dynamics.
Real sports.
Let's not get on to cricket.
10,000 viewers just switched up.
So, just on the subject of the fact that you play in all these sports, I guess this is basically the hybrid training that you were talking about.
Yeah.
What got you into wanting to do this rather than just doing powerlifting?
I've always had the sporting background, and then one of the first people I became aware of outside of T Nation, basically, although I think he has been featured on T Nation, is Alex Viada. Mm-hmm. If you don't know who he is, you should go and look him up, because he's a genius stroke idiot. Sorry, he's a genius. He's an absolute genius, and he will disseminate information in a really accessible and really friendly way via his Instagram stories.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of them.
Yeah, he's very, very, very strong. He was an equipped powerlifter. He's done raw stuff as well, and pretty much any time of the year he can pull around 600 to 700 pounds without any peak or anything like that. But he also does ultra endurance events. So he's done Ironmans, he's done ultra marathons, he's run a 4-minute mile. 4-minute mile, 5-minute mile? I'll check that. But all whilst being in and around the hundreds and 110s. So he's jacked, he's fit, he's strong, he's fast, he's pretty much everything. And then Matt Wenning as well, be an athlete first and a powerlifter second. I love that quote. I absolutely love that quote. So those two kind of. That's the phone ringing. Will that pick up on the mic?
What do you mean if you held the phone close to the mic?
Yeah, is it going to be annoying now? Hopefully someone answers.
No, you'll be able to hear it ringing.
Okay, right. Sorry about that. We're in the office
It's
at my
totally
gym.
fine.
So.
It's quite an informal
Yeah.
chat that we have.
This is true. So yeah, Viada and winning, and then I've just kind of carried it on myself, and now my goals are to be, if you will, the most hybrid athlete ever. So 2021 will be the year that I attempt to squat and deadlift over 600 pounds and bench 405 pounds in the same calendar year as completing a sub 12-hour Ironman. And if you don't know what an Ironman is, it's a 3.8 kilometer swim, a 156 kilometer bike, it might be 160, I'll double check, and then a marathon run at the end of it. So it's the ultimate triathlon. So I would be the first person in history to do all those things in the same year. 180 kilometer bike, I'm getting 150 from, that's right. And I've asked Viada, and he's never been aware of anyone doing it in the same calendar year. There's been strong jack people that have done Ironmans, but they've not done what they're strong and jack for in the same year.
So they've not stayed kind of prepared for.
No, so
all of them.
Chris Gethin did a series with Viada as his coach, where he just trained for an Ironman as a bodybuilder. Got a little bit bigger, got a little bit leaner, but didn't compete at any point in that calendar year. And Nick Bear has just done his Ironman, so shout out to him for completing that. He did an awesome time as well. I think it was 11 hours 28 minutes, but he, in one of his prep videos, he failed a 140 bench and he was weighing like 95 kilos. So,
the adaptations really are quite severe, really, aren't they? When they get going, you really do adapt to what you're trying to do.
I'm going to try and prove that you don't have to.
Yeah, but what I mean is, if you let it happen,
yes,
it will happen that way. So if he's 95 kilos, I'm guessing this guy, I don't know who he is, would normally be able to do that.
Yeah, I think his bench PB was 170 before.
Right, okay.
And that was about 105 body weight.
Because of this training not getting it exactly right, maybe.
He got it right for exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to do an Ironman.
Right, okay.
And he'd do an Ironman well. That's what I'm saying. No one's tried to do both things well in the same calendar year. So that's the goal for me.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I mean, if you don't get it right, you can lose a lot of strength.
Yeah.
And the other way around, if you don't get it right, you can lose a lot of endurance. So you're trying to absolutely hit the nail on the head perfectly. So where have you been with it so far? What's the most you've done endurance-wise so far?
So I've completed a triathlon to get an experience of the full event. Just a sprint one, but it was great fun. Absolutely loved it. Incidentally, triathletes make the toilets before an event worse than powerlifting.
Really?
Did not think it was possible. Oh my god.
I guess it's because of all the carbs, right?
I've no idea what it was, but it was horrendous. Could just be. I don't know what it was. It was
It must
awful.
be the carbs.
It was
It must be.
But still, the worst people for toilet smells are strongmen. You know who you are, strongmen. At the SFN Expo, my gym was running a demo area, and it was the toilets were right next to the strongman area, and I almost threw up. Every time I went in, it was horrific. So yeah.
You can imagine a 160, 180 kilo guy doesn't pussyfoot about when he's eating, does he? Really?
No. It's honestly traumatic.
I think you should maybe write an article on it. Rank the sports in order of toilet disgustingness.
Yeah, true. I'll do that for the magazine sometime.
Thank you. Next issue.
Yeah. Running wise, I've run a half marathon just as part of my training, and regularly go out and run 10Ks plus. Swimming wise, the longest swim I've done is 2K so far, and bike ride, the longest bike ride I've done was 90 kilometers.
Nice. You know what? This is all really impressive because it's just so far away from my scope of imagination. I'll be quite honest. You know, it is really impressive, mate. Just to have any strength and be able to do that. I'm actually going to be, because as you've heard, I'm going to be signing up with a coach soon. And this guy, he's kind of along the same lines as you. What do you like suspect that he would? Because he said that I would be doing like some designated cardio rather than what I do at the minute, where I go, right, I'll do 3 30-minute walks a week or cycles a week in my house or whatever. He's gonna have it more structured. So like, what do you imagine that I'd be doing? Because I'm quite apprehensive. If you had to guess.
Nothing too crazy to start with. I would imagine a lot of it will be focused around heart rate zones.
Right.
So you don't need to work as hard as you might think. I would imagine a lot of it will be low to zero impact. So possibly swimming, don't know what your access to a pool or your ability to swim is, and I would imagine that's probably going to put your heart rate too high for now. So maybe some aqua jogging instead, again, to take the load off your joints.
Right.
Cycling is really good. Rowing machine, it depends on what you've got access to. But I would imagine it would all be easier to start with, and then as you got fitter, you can bring in more specific training to powerlifting, so like intervals and things like that. But again, the key for you would be making sure it doesn't impact your recovery. So we want it to enhance recovery, not to impact recovery. We're not trying to turn you into like an Ironman or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you coach, maybe, but I doubt it, because your main focus is powerlifting. So you want the cardio to enhance the powerlifting, not detract from it.
And do you feel like there are examples in our sport of powerlifting where cardiovascular activity and endurance stuff has enhanced an athlete's ability to powerlift, or maybe there's a correlation between the two?
Lots of, not necessarily in powerlifting, although rumour has it that Milanichev regularly runs 5 to 10Ks, and seeing as he's the heaviest total of all time, if you want to base your argument just on N equals 1, saying the strongest powerlifter of all time does 10K runs, there you go, bang.
How about recently, another 1100 kilo total Hitsy, because he must have some cardiovascular ability in order to be able to do this, because he's a strongman.
Yeah, strongman is like a classic definition of interval training, high intensity interval training. Things especially like the loaded carry medleys. So like running, they're usually about 20 meters, aren't they? 20 to 30 meters. And they'll take like a bag, a shield, and potentially a yoke or something like that. And they usually last around 45 to 90 seconds, depending on things like that. I think the world's
that's longer than either last. Oh shit! You're talking about
not that
doesn't
cardio.
matter. Doesn't matter.
World's Ultimate Strongman in Dubai, they just did a 10 stone run. So it's two stones, I believe, of every weight, from 100 every 20 kg to 200. And I think that ranged from like a minute to 2 minutes, people doing that. So it is cardiovascular activity. And you see a lot of strongmen who've crossed over to powerlifting and done really well. Hixie, Thor, I'm pretty sure if Eddie Hall and Brian Shaw wanted to do powerlifting, they'd do really, really well.
Not forgetting Charlie, because I don't think he ever really went to his actual potential in powerlifting, or hasn't yet.
No, he
made everything
injuries,
look very easy.
He was battling injuries, wasn't he? And then when he wasn't battling injuries, he then became Europe's strongest man, didn't he?
Yeah.
So the guy's, he's amazing.
When he squatted 360 in sleeves at, I think it might have been the British or one of the qualifiers.
I competed against him in Tattooed and Strong that year as well.
Yeah,
it was
he pulled
amazing.
385 at Tattooed and Strong.
It looked like an empty bar.
So there's another example. So if maybe this is whetting people's appetite for maybe, let's say for example there's a hypothetical guy out there who has gone really the other way with it, has either started off powerlifting very, very heavy and unfit, or he or she has got into powerlifting thinking I need to be as heavy as possible. It doesn't matter about keeping leanness, it doesn't matter about keeping cardiovascular condition.
Massive misconception.
Yeah, so maybe they're watching or listening to this and they think, you know what, maybe there's something in this, maybe I want to get some cardio. How would they start?
Firstly, let me address the misconception. Mass moves mass if you are in an unrestricted weight category. That is the only time it is acceptable to be anything other than as lean as you possibly can be while still maintaining your health and performance, because certain people will perform at different body compositions. Some people might like to be a little bit fluffier, it might feel better on their joints or whatever. But generally, contractile tissue, i.e. muscle, is what moves the weight on the bar, nothing else. So in your weight category, you want to hold as much muscle mass as you possibly can whilst allowing you to feel and perform well and generally come into competition not in a calorie deficit. So satisfy those criteria and be as lean as possible. That is how to be as good as you can at powerlifting.
So we're looking at athletes, for example, there like Kevin Oak, Dan Green, Stan Efferding,
Lily Bridges,
Tom Martin even.
what a freak, amazing.
Alexander Clark.
Kyler Woolen. You look at the guys now. What's his name? Jimbo Cooper.
He's improved his physique as well. I think over the past
Sebastian Oreb.
Yeah.
Look at any of the guys at Pro Raw. Also, Sam Bollins as well. He keeps on trying to recomp and get his goal is to be as lean as possible at 125. What's his name? The South African that Sam's going to be going up against at Pro Raw.
Yeah, he's got a crazy physique. He's actually on another level. I think.
Will Crozier.
Yeah.
Another one. I hope these guys listen. Basically, I'm crushing on all your rigs. I hope they listen to this. But
we had a very similar conversation to this before, but I don't think we can repeat it on the podcast.
We won't repeat that. But yeah, like it's the age of the fat powerlifter is done. It's done. Like anyone who still maintains that mass movement mass, unless they're in the heavyweights, and even then, if someone's 180 kilos, if they could be 180 kilos and 20% body fat, they are going to be stronger than if they're 180 kilos and 40% body fat.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, so that would push that one under the carpet now. That's done. Cardio wise, pretty much what I've said to you already, to be honest. Always start, first things, get a decent watch and heart rate strap. Chest straps are much more accurate than anything wrist based. You can get on Amazon and get a chest strap which talks via Bluetooth to a watch for about 40 quid.
Okay.
Because your training should be in heart rate zone 2 for the most part. And I'm going to assume a complete beginner to this, like we said.
Yeah.
2 or 3 bouts a week of 20 to 40 minutes of zone 2 cardiovascular work.
Are we talking, for most people, walking?
Potentially, you need to check what keeps you in that zone.
Okay.
Probably uphill walking, getting on a bike, rowing, or something like that. Something where you can read the data from your chest strap to your watch as you do it to keep yourself in heart rate zone 2.
Okay.
If you don't know what that is, Google heart rate zone calculator. Non-impact to start with, so that's why I like uphill walking. Very rarely would I suggest a heavyweight or even a middleweight ran, because that's one of the only exercises that in the literature has been shown to have an actual interference effect with strength.
Okay.
Cycling and swimming and rowing have actually been shown to improve and enhance strength over just a strength training group alone. Now,
That's
admittedly,
really interesting.
It is. Admittedly, the research is mostly in college-age athletes or untrained or elderly populations, so it's definitely an area to pursue, but you can extrapolate from that quite nicely, I think. So non-impact, zone 2, and then what you'd want to is probably work up to about 4 to 5 hours a week of cardio in that zone 2 range.
Work up to there, so gradually work up.
Most people an hour a week is a good starting point. Assess your recovery. If you've had no problems with doing an hour a week for 2 weeks straight, then go to an hour and 30 minutes, just add 10 minutes onto each of those sessions. And then keep going until you're doing 5 1-hour sessions, I would say is probably optimal for most powerlifters.
Okay, that's really, really... You wouldn't imagine that would be the case, that 5 1-hour sessions is optimal, i.e. you should be doing that.
That could be split into maybe 10, 30-minute sessions if people wanted to do that. But most people, for their health benefits as well, not just... That is probably the amount of cardio you can get away with without it impacting your powerlifting performance. And it's not like it's like you do that cardio and then you go over that and then bang, your total plummets by like 100 kilos.
Yeah.
So obviously, diminishing returns and everything, but that is an amount of cardio that is realistic for most people to do. It has no impact to them. They will get a whole host of health benefits from that, and they will be fitter so they can handle more volume with less fatigue in their training sessions.
Okay, and you actually wrote an article about this too. If people want to see this in a written format.
There's two sample templates in there for a lightweight to middleweight and a heavy middleweight to heavyweight athlete, both in season and off season. In off season, we work in intervals as well. So we'd definitely recommend.
I remember reading that and I really liked it. Which issue was it in? Do you remember?
Let me check. I think it was like issue 13 or something. Issue 14.
I think you might have said it was 15.
I'll find it in a second. Keep talking.
I seem to remember 15 for some reason. And so when we figure out which issue that was,
I am still listening, by the way.
You can go to BritishStrengthMagazine.com, and if you subscribe, and once you subscribe, send an email over to info@BritishStrengthMagazine.com, and I will send you all of the back issues for free, so you can check out articles like this and many more that Andy Smith and all the cool, knowledgeable writers have written. So get yourself over to BritishStrengthMagazine.com. Like I said, you can get all the back issues for free.
Here we go. Episode 15. 14 was my article on RPE training, which again has a takeaway of what you could use. 15 was cardio, 16 was sticking points, 17 was machines, 18 was sticking points part 2, and there's been a pro roll one as well.
He's written some really good articles. I'm not just blowing smoke up his arse because I'm sat
I don't need that.
basically on his lap in his office here. Could you get the other screen up, please?
Oh yeah. Sorry, mate. There we go.
Thank you very much. So, just talked about how that stereotypical powerlifter can really kind of improve their life, improve their actual powerlifting, basically. What other mistakes do you see people doing in powerlifting?
I think you've just touched on one of the really important ones there. People don't look at how powerlifting can enhance their life. Most people aren't good enough to make money out of the sport. Most people don't make any income from the sport, whether that's direct or indirect. Yet people will sacrifice years off their life later on and sacrifice their health and short-term experiences. Now, that's not me saying you should go out every weekend and get blind drunk with your mates and stuff like that, but people allow powerlifting to creep in and take over and negatively impact their social life and their health. And personally, I disagree with that. I liked your editorial on that, your recent editorial on that.
Thank you, mate.
And then people bow to social media too much. Now, I can't really say much because I'm going to be starting my own YouTube channel to document my hybrid adventures. So keep an eye on my Instagram, Alan That's on there, and obviously I do enjoy it. I'm partial to Instagram.
Yeah, I like your social media though. It's actually good.
I feel like people bow to the pressure of social media, train too heavy too often, get injured, and then push themselves too hard too fast in recovery from their injury without understanding the knowledge behind it. And powerlifting becomes one rep access to them. And part of that is that they'll compete so often throughout the year that they almost have to train heavy. It's kind of a vicious cycle. And I get it, that you enjoy powerlifting, but people see it as the competition themselves. That's powerlifting, but it's not. It's everything that goes into it. So yeah, I think that would be my biggest mistake.
Competing too much?
Yes.
Is one of them, and
which means they train too heavy,
yeah,
too often, for too long through the year, which means it impacts and affects their life and health negatively.
Okay, and they don't do some of the other stuff, and we're not just talking about cardio here. You've written articles, for example, on machines for powerlifting.
Yeah,
so
machines.
There are other types of training you can do.
Yeah, machines, unilateral training, general sport, like outdoor activities, going hiking, things like that. Playing five-a-side football, all of these things are things that powerlifters should and could do. The Russians are huge on this.
Yeah.
GPP. And
multilateral development.
Yeah, what's the word they use for it when they deliberately go away and don't do any powerlifting for like 3-4 weeks? What's the word? I can't remember what it is.
Neither can I. Nothing's
Nothing's jumped to mind. When they take a structured block that deliberately has none of their, like freshening or something.
Yeah, it's a specific training cycle, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something like recovery, but it's not recovery.
Yeah, but anyway, so it's deliberately
rejuvenation.
Yes, that's the one. It's deliberately taking a step away from barbell work to improve barbell performance later on and rediscover your passion for it and things like that. So you see a lot of lifters I remember a lot of people that started lifting when I started lifting that aren't lifting anymore. And they weren't lifting after a short period of time. Went too hard, too fast, too much gear, jumping into equipment far too quickly, and wanting to be the next big thing in a year or 18 months, cutting depth, things like that, and it's just come back to bite them, and they're not in the sport anymore, they're unhealthy, and then loads of things like that, so yeah.
Okay, so I want to touch on competing too much for selfish reasons. Okay, so I just want more info for myself. So at the minute, you're giving me a lot of advice on my rehab.
Yes.
Because you've got a background in that, and I think it's probably prudent that I don't compete heavy squats soon. I'm doing a qualifier in 2 weeks, but I will be doing just a token squat, the smallest squat I can do whilst hitting total still.
That's what you should do though, it's a qualifier.
Yeah.
What is the point of a qualifier?
To qualify.
Exactly. What is not the point of a qualifier?
To try and go for all-time world records?
Yeah,
I don't know.
to bust your gut and go way far beyond. That's one of the things about competing too hard. Like, especially if people are using anything, then you should be able to do a qualifier without.
Yeah.
And again, you can protect your health long term.
So you're not on multiple courses.
Too many people see qualifiers as an opportunity to win best lifter or to win their category, and they blow it up into this massive thing that it's not.
So from my personal standpoint there, I do blast and cruise these days. So I am cruising for this one on 250 milligrams of test per week, just in case anyone's wondering what I'm doing. Anyway, so I'm going into this qualifier token squat. Just have a go on the bench and deadlift day. Oh no. What would you say?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Okay, all right.
Maybe not push for PBs, especially if you're not, all your factors on pushing in towards that.
Yeah.
But yeah, go for potentially a PB at a qualifier or a PB at whatever dosage, etc. that you're doing. But I don't want to make it about that, because it's not about that.
Yeah.
So for anyone, whether you use or not, qualifiers should be a place where you hit the qualifying total, maybe with a bit of room to spare, just in case things aren't going to plan. But you definitely shouldn't be, in my opinion, absolutely maxing out, unless your training cycle and your training has put you in a position to set a PB. That's what I'm saying. You should never ever set PB. If PBs come, take them by all means, but you shouldn't. I don't think you should miss lifts at qualifiers.
Okay. So you mean if you're having a good day and you go?
No, you've had a good training cycle. So if your previous PB, so it was 180 on squats,
Yeah.
and you've hit 180 for 3 on squats as
Yeah.
part of your training, then by all means try and take a 190 on your third.
So it should go by how the training cycle.
Exactly.
Okay.
Training cycle's gone, and what the qualifying total is, and go somewhere.
You don't
in
just
between.
get delusions of grandeur on the day and just go, I can do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you mean.
PB,
Okay.
Squat PB is 180. You've done 180 for 3 in training. Well, third attempt, fuck it, I'm going to try 210. Why? Why? Just take 190 or 185 or 187 and be delighted with the PB.
Okay. So my imminent qualifier is out of the way. The comps I have that I want to do / something I have to do in order to qualify at the end of the year next year. Tattooed and strong. Want to do that one?
See you there, bud.
Push pull. Yeah. And then I have the BPF British in May, which I have to do in order to do the WRPF Worlds at the end of the year.
That's 8 weeks after Tattoo Strong.
I think so, yeah. Cool. Start of May, yeah.
Yeah.
Then I would like to do the GPC Pro Meet if indeed it's all set up and goes ahead, and this, that and the other, I'm sure it will. And that's a wrapped meet, that's in September. Imagine it's in the middle of September. Then December, I think it's December, is the very last one, which is the WRPF, this is sleeves category, World Championships.
What date is that, sorry?
That's at the start of December, I think. It was this year anyway, or it is this year.
Yeah.
Those are the meets I want to do.
Yeah.
There are 4 there.
Yeah.
One of them's a push-pull.
Yeah.
And one of them is, again, basically the British is another qualifier
Yeah.
for the Worlds. So really it's the 2 at the end, i.e. September and December, that are my biggest focus points. Because I've been doing so much without wraps, sleeves, I think that the WRPF right at the end is my biggest focus point.
Cool. So working backwards from that, then I would do your peak. So there's another thing that I think a mistake that people make. They plan forwards rather than planning backwards. I think you should reverse engineer everything.
Right.
With certain strategic markers along the way. So I would, starting from December, if that's your biggest meet, I would work backwards.
Right.
Write out your peak, how long your peak is going to take, work it backwards from there. And again, the push-pull, I would potentially use that as an opportunity to or the qualifier, one of the 2, I would use that as an opportunity to test and see where you are.
Okay.
So that I would identify one of them and use that as a strategic opportunity to find out almost effectively training maxes to base your cycle off. And then, in September, I would go hard because it's a money meet, but I would have a limit on your performance. So you'll
also potentially qualify me for Pro Raw 2021 as well.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to do.
Again, looking at your numbers there that you need for that, use that as an opportunity to try and hit somewhere near those numbers, and then play the game on the day. Try and secure those numbers with your seconds, then use your thirds to give you an opportunity to go for wins or small tactical PBs, and then obviously the big focus, you go all in hard in December.
Right, okay, that's interesting. I'm definitely gonna, obviously it'll depend what this new coach guy who I've got says ultimately.
Yeah.
Because want to kind of switching over to a coach, I want to do it 100% by him, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Take his
As it should be.
Yeah, as
When
it
you
should be.
switch to a coach, you've got to give it time.
Yeah, you don't just go, oh, you're coaching me, but it's all my decisions. No, that's really interesting. Hopefully some other people got stuff from that rather than just me.
So to extrapolate that, generally I think 2 to 3 competitions a year. If you're at a good level, it could probably be 3, because you'd assume qualifier, national championship, and some kind of international comp.
Yeah.
The international comp or your national comp, that should be where your focus lies. And then the others, the qualifier, you should just be qualifying, and then that should give you time and space to peak again properly and safely for your third comp. So usually it would be like February, March, June, July, September, October, and that gives you good amounts of time in between. And then after the main comp, you come into a proper off season where you develop on your weaknesses that you've picked up during that last competition and training for it.
Yes. So let's let's move on to, again, Pro Raw, the meets that Marcos runs. We've just had Big Dogs, so I think it's a fairly relevant topic right now. You've been over to Pro Raw. Can you tell me what your experience of that was like?
It was perfect. It is difficult and expensive as a British lifter going across. Luckily, Sam Bollins was across as well, and we decided to room
Share
up.
a bed.
Yeah, sorry Kia. No, we roomed up just to save costs, which helped. And the Airbnb was amazing as well, by the way. Like swimming pool, decent gym. Australia's an amazing place. It's my second time I've been there, but yeah, the comp. So shout out to Emad as well. He's the lesser known of the two, I think.
Yeah, he's the well, Marcos says that he's the money behind it.
Yeah, he's
financial.
very, very passionate about it as well.
Right.
To say he's just the money would be a huge, huge understatement to him. It makes it easier for people to understand, but
right, okay.
Seeing him jumping about on the platform when lifters with, not even for the win, just like setting PBs and stuff in their thirds, he's literally jumping about going, man, he loves it, so passionate. So yeah, I don't want any of this to sound like I'm having a go at any federation or any individuals, because I appreciate the effort that it takes to put a competition on, and I appreciate the potential probable lack of venues that we have in the UK. No one that was there didn't deserve to be there. Every weight category was incredibly closely fought, and genuinely, apart from the super heavies, went down to the last flight of deadlifts before positions. All 3 podium positions were locked in. There was good prize money. The trophies are outstanding. The venue was a massive expo, but because all the lifters that were there deserved to be there, people watched.
Yeah.
So the crowd was at least 1,000, if not more, at all times. 600
That's
seats,
cool.
people standing around every seat on the outside, 3 or 4 deep.
That is real. That's what I'd like to see from a world level comp. Like, because sometimes you go to World Championships, European Championships, and it's no different to a qualifier. The actual atmosphere and the actual crowd.
Can we come back to this?
Of course we can. Yeah.
Right. Then the warm-up area, everything was identical as to what it was going to be on the platform. Monos, bars, plates. There were 4 of each in the warm-up room, but I think there was only like 16 people in the biggest flight. So I actually had a mono to myself warming up, which was amazing. Calibrated plates. Marcos and Emad are walking around when people are warming up, and if they saw we are a separate international lifters briefing about squat depth specifically. We'll steer clear of that topic though for the most part. And a couple of people actually got pulled out to the side and said, look, if you squat like that on the platform, you will get red lights. They want lifters to succeed. A lot of people say that, but that ends up in bad calls.
Yeah.
But they called you and said, we want you to do well, provided it's to the right standard. So they called people aside.
I'm not asking for names, but I remember the article you wrote about
It was
this.
it was Edward
Was
Canyon. Yeah, he went on to win, and he didn't squat as much as he'd squatted in previous competitions,
Right.
but he didn't need to.
Well, I'm not even hating on him. I'm just like, I think he squats high in training, to be honest. I think he squats high at comp, actually, and gets them past.
Yeah, but he didn't in Pro Raw. And do you know what that shows? To my mind, that shows the meet organisers went over, told him his squat was unacceptable, and he matched the standards to what was told of him. If he's not clear, if lifters aren't clear, and refereeing isn't strict, then of course people are going to push it. It's
Yeah.
sport.
Yeah.
People cheat. That's why there's sanctions in other sports. The only thing that I would have... Oh, and there was a massive and any massive screen, like LCD screen above the stage. So wherever you were in the room,
in the expo
the
hall,
expo hall,
was held
which
at,
is at the Arnold Sports Festival.
that's cool.
Which is a massive cool thing itself. Yeah, so you could see the lifting that was going on. The only criticism I have of the meet, and I think this shows how petty this is, shows. So you imagine, what can we see? Lift your leg up a little bit. Right, imagine Alex's leg here, just like that, that's fine there. Imagine Alex's hand is a TV screen and the platform is here, this side of it. Lifters get ready here to go on. The only TV screen that you've got access to is about 6 meters this way where his hand is.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there by myself, rapping, didn't have a team or anything, so I was having to go and check the screen, and the 3 lifters before me all got timed out.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit rushed. That's my criticism. That's my only criticism.
That makes it a very, very good meet. If anyone's ever experienced a powerlifter meet and experienced all the things which can and do go wrong. So yeah, you've sold it to me there, mate. I want to get there in 2021. 2020 is too close, but 2021 I want to be there.
There was only one call as well, I think, from the refs that got picked out on social media, and that was actually for someone's deadlift lockout, which says a lot.
You know what? As well, I thought that call was such a. He'd taken it from one angle, and it was probably better than a lot of the deadlift lockouts that get passed at most comps anyway. And some, I'm not going to name names, but someone had highlighted this, and it was like, what? Why?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That just shows the standard of the meet and the ref, in my opinion.
Yeah. But,
I wasn't paid anything to go out there. I didn't get any prize money. I finished 7th or 8th. I had a very poor day by my standards. And for me to still think that's the best meet I've ever gone to, despite the fact it cost me thousands of pounds, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But back to what you were saying, right? Before we forget. Name a sport where there's a world championship every single year and a European championship every single year.
Not that up on actual sports, so fucking a lot about powerlifting.
Powerlifting, weightlifting, and strongman, I think, are the only ones. Do you think? Because what's the problems with powerlifting, right? It gets diluted.
Yeah.
So there's too many feds, too many categories, too many championships, too many comps. There's a statistic in powerlifting. There's more first place finishes ever recorded in the history of powerlifting than 2nd to 11th, including did not finish or disqualified, combined.
That is absolutely mental.
I think you mentioned it as well in one of your editorials about how many first place.
Oh yeah, I added up
how many British
world
champions
there could potentially be. It might not have. There were probably more federations than I took into account, so the number would have been higher if you really search for all.
It's about 5,500, isn't it?
I don't know if it was 600 actually. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, sorry, 5,500. 600.
Something like 600, I think I came up with, and that wasn't an extensive search. That was just off the top of my head.
So people aren't going to world championships and international comps because there's too many of them. They cost too much. Blah 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 blah. You're never going to get the federations to come together. But if you had world championships every 3 years or every 4 years, it gives people time to save up. It gives people time to plan. It takes the pressure off them having to compete so often, so close together. I think just by doing that, you could solve a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
But then the federation's going to get less money, so it's not right. But I think in an ideal world, and we've discussed this, I've discussed it with most people at Chapter in Powerlifting, you'd have junior, decided by formula. You'd have open, which would be split into, you'd have masters, decided by formula. You'd have weight categories, you'd have lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, super heavyweight. Again, decided on formula within those. I don't know what formula to use because none of them seem to be perfect. I think IPF points is probably the closest.
And I think, there are criticisms of that though as well, aren't there?
There are, but let's skip over it. Even just doing this, because your overall is still decided by formula.
Yeah, it's IPF points or Wilks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which irrelevant which one you use, because there's problems with all of them. But so straight away you've got 4 weight categories, 3 age categories. So that's already massively dropped that number.
Yeah.
And then you'd have raw, which is bare knees or sleeves, raw with wraps, and equipped.
Yeah. Just one category for equipped. Yeah.
Yeah, and it all goes together. Because realistically, if you're going to put the time and effort into single ply, a skilled single ply lifter will beat an unskilled multi ply lifter.
Yeah.
multiply lifters, you stand in a lot more chance of bombing. And you look at the numbers from the IPF equipped worlds, which is single ply and wraps, right? And they are beating a lot of equipped multiply lifters.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are amazing multiply lifters. Callie,
Rasmussen.
Callie, BPU Callie.
Untitled James.
Yes, can't pronounce that.
I got that right.
Benching specifically, incredible.
Yeah, 400 kilos plus, I think.
And Tubby as well.
Yeah, Steve is
on all three.
He's good, and he seems to be getting better all the time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Steph alongside that.
Yeah.
So there are very, very, very good multiply lifters out there, but again, their totals would be challenged if they had a bad day and a highly skilled single ply lifter had a very good day.
Look at Blaine Sumner, for example.
Exactly.
He is ridiculous. Tony Cliff's really, really good. I mean,
Yeah.
I think at the minute he's better raw than he is equipped, but he's put up an 1100 kilo equipped total very recently at the Roses. So he looks to win at Dubai. Obviously, he said that on the podcast.
So I mean that is what I would do, and then I would have British Championships every 2 years, and I would have on the odd years that there isn't a British Championship, I have like kind of a best of the rest comp.
Yeah.
And I would have World Championships every 4 years and Europeans every 4 years, but on again, so it'd be different. So you'd have a British, a European, a World on continuous calendar years.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And then there'd be a year gap, so they'd be on continuous cycles.
With the federation thing, and this is massively hypothetical, I just thought it would be really good if the IPF were able to just kind of somehow take over untested powerlifting as well, get an untested side of the sport affiliated to the IPF, and just basically have those categories that you mentioned, but like with an extra raw with wraps category. So existing IPF categories, but add raw with wraps in, and then just make the IPF the only body in the world.
The Fed, if you could have one federation and have non-tested side and tested side, those categories as we mentioned, and 2 hour weigh-in. Because what we've basically described
is what Pro Raw
and the IPF worlds combined.
Yeah.
Which is what we want.
Yeah.
And I think it's heading that way. There'll be Pro Raw qualifiers and then on alternate years Pro Raw itself with big dogs. I think that's probably the way it's going, because it's all-time world records aren't respected because everybody knows that a lot of them are done to poor conditions.
Yeah, and I think it's almost a bit like going to an arcade, and just when you're on your own, you're chilled out, and you go in and you're playing on Tetris or Space Invaders or whatever, and you're just going up the list on the arcade. Whereas the difference is not everyone's there. You know what I mean? It's not setting these all-time records.
That's Tetris, isn't it?
I have no idea, mate.
Well, you should know if you reference in the game.
Well,
any listeners, comment below if you think that was Tetris. Comment below if you think it was Super Mario. If you think it was Mario, you're wrong.
So,
back to your analogy.
Back to my analogy. Yeah, it's like going to an arcade, and it's with powerlifting these days, and then you put in your number in, and then it goes into this internet system. And I'm not saying that open powerlifting isn't great. I really like open powerlifting, but it takes competitiveness away from powerlifting.
Well, that's one of the things Marcus looks for.
Yeah.
He bases his invites off of people who've actually competed as well. He doesn't just invite people who've only done it at backyard meets.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that got me my invite as well. There's a stronger 82s or under 80 as it is with 2 hour weigh, and there's definitely stronger lifters in the UK than me.
Yeah.
But they don't really seek competition, and they've not competed in weight categories above where they actually lift at, because obviously it's an 82.5 in the BPU. Most people are cutting down from close to 90, whereas I was just competing at what I walked around at.
Yeah.
Which works for Pro Raw. But yeah, I think it's all hypothetical because it'll never happen. But I think the way it's heading is that meets like Pro Raw will be respected, and if people say, "Oh, I did my X record," people will say, "Well, where? Which Fed?" And people will know. There'll almost be an asterisk by these people's records just because.
And you know what? Because you and I both know people high up in the kind of other federations, it's not to say that we're kind of saying that what these people do in these federations, that we wish that it would just didn't exist, because they provide the foundation for the sport for it to.
Oh, mate, it's amazing because it's grown. It's grown so much, and the accessibility of that, and you know, each fed has their strengths. Like the GPC has amazing expo events like Tattoo and Strong, and this Pro Meet, which sounds like it'll be incredible. BPU initially just a push pull at body power, now the nationals are at body power. I mean, that is the closest thing you get to pro raw, competing at body power.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different flaws and issues, and far be it from me to tell those people what to do, because I've never run a fed. But in my head, these things are logical, they make sense.
Yeah, I think the way you think about things, well, testament to kind of how you set your gym up, really. We'll talk about that all the time. I think the way you think about things is very, you see the big picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think what you've done there is pretty much along those lines, and it works. In theory, it works very well. Do you know what I mean? With the way you see powerlifting.
If anyone has any comments on that, then I'd love discussing it. So like if people want to talk about this in the comments below, or on Instagram or social media or wherever, just either message me or put it in the comments below, and I will get back to you, because I would love to, you know, in 10 to 15 years time, I would love powerlifting to be officially recognised and to be held in the same regard by the general public as like world's strongest man.
Oh yeah,
which gets on TV
great.
every year. Like, it'd be amazing. So yeah, like the only way we're going to change it is by talking about it, and if enough people talk about it and enough people push for it, then these things might happen. So yeah, please just people discuss it. Do discuss it.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm the same, and that's why I have the magazine, and that's why I have the podcast, because I want powerlifting, and I imagine powerlifting to be bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I want it to be a world recognised sport, and I wish it were a world it is a world recognised sport, but I wish it were more of a professional sport, and you know.
Look at take strongman. That's probably the easiest example.
Yeah.
It's a professional circuit. Those guys make a good amount of money, enough so that they can supplement that income. But there are professional strongman athletes, and that's what they are. They are professional athletes.
Yeah, and you know, just so that you could have like kids going, I want to be a professional powerlifter. You know, just to like they have ambitions in football and rugby and whatnot. And for people to actually be able to have those ambitions in powerlifting, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
like, take Luke Richardson as a prime example, right?
Yeah.
The brightest hope for British powerlifting in God knows how long. Goes, nah, it's crap. We can say that. I'm not putting words into Luke's mouth here, but he got so disillusioned and fed up with it. He went, do you know what? I'd make more money, and I'd get more fame, and I'd get a hell of a lot more, travel to more places, and see cool things being a strong man.
Yeah, and he actually adopted that very pragmatic approach at such a young age as well.
Yeah, because there was no career pathway to be a powerlifter. Didn't want to be just some washed up old name. And you go, oh, who's that? Must be Eddie Hall. Like the world and his wife have heard of him.
Yeah.
And he's getting paid a lot of money to travel around to very cool places.
And he could still just come back and win the IPF. Okay, he might still be able to come back and win an IPF Worlds.
Big dogs. Big dogs would be where he'd go.
Yeah. If he wanted to.
Yeah.
Just
probably,
like Graham
probably in
Hicks.
sleeves as well.
Yeah. Well, obviously Graham's not won big dogs yet, but I imagine that one day that could very well happen.
Yeah. How cool would that be? Like Hicksy and Luke on the podium at big dogs.
That would be absolutely.
Potentially one of them winning it, and then you never know, someone like Sam Bollins,
someone else,
sneaking up.
Yeah,
He's got potentially got an 1100 in the
yeah,
bag.
he's got his actual progress. That's what astounds me.
If Sam's still lifting in 5 years' time and hasn't had many problems with injuries, I genuinely think he could be on the podium at big dogs. He might have to take his health to a place where he doesn't want to, or might have to compete as a very light super heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But based on what Belkin's done, I think is Sam Bollins capable of an 1100 or a 1050 total? Enough to get an invite? Yeah, I fully back him.
Absolutely, yeah. And as well, I think that's going back to mindset almost as well, because his mindset, very, very, very positive, lots of self-belief. You know what I mean? I think that's one of his keys to achieving what he has, as well as physical capabilities. Believes in himself, got a coach who believes in him too.
Vaz is really cool as well.
I've obviously never met him, but is he a good guy?
Yeah.
I've watched a couple of his stories now, actually.
He was really nice at Pro Raw. He seemed like he had a lot of time for a lot of people. And he obviously organised and helped out Sam as much as he could. He seems like really down to earth, basically. Just a typical Aussie.
Yeah.
Down to earth and a nice bloke.
There's a good podcast actually with him on Golski's podcast. You know the
yeah,
muscle intelligence.
Muscle. I have big muscles.
That podcast has him on too, so that's an interesting listen. Let's go back to you, mate. Before we wrap this one up, tell me about just your lifestyle. Obviously, we're up here in sunny Edinburgh. You're not from Edinburgh, are you? You're
no.
From You from Cambridge or Cheshire?
I say I'm from Cambridge. I was born in Chester. I lived there till I was like 12, then moved down to Cambridge. So I'd say my more formative years were spent in Cambridge. Then did my undergrad at Preston, and then moved up to Australia. Fucking Edinburgh. Travelled around Australia and Edinburgh.
Oh, is
I'd
that
love
one
to
on the
move to
cards?
Australia. Huh?
Is Australia on the
Oh,
cards?
I'd love to live out there, mate. I'd love to, yeah.
So just tell me about what your life kind of involves.
Sitting in this office. If you don't know, I run a gym. We've just gone over a year now of being open. Check us out on Instagram, Lift Gyms UK, and Facebook, Lift Gyms UK. So yeah, my life literally revolves around this place, trying to get us to a point where we are making positive cash flow. We can talk about. We're going to do a podcast, aren't we?
Another time. When you're down for Tattooed and Strong, when you're down south, Tattooed and Strong, we're going to do another podcast and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. And then I'm not squeaking at you, listeners. Hang on.
Ladies, that's Andy Thomas blowing you a kiss. You should feel very, very
my
privileged.
life revolves around this guy mostly. Come here.
YouTube watchers, this is Titan, Andy Smith's
Turn around.
faithful dog.
So yeah, this little guy is who I spend most of my time with.
He's very briefly said hello to me today. He's just been chilled out for the past couple of hours, hasn't he? He's been sleeping.
Just snoozing. So yeah, but basically life revolves around my work first and foremost, then training, and obviously there's a lot of outdoor activity with that, and I spend as much time outdoors as I can with Ty, just going for walks.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably lucky to live where I do and have so many amazing nature backdrops, as it were, on my doorstep.
Yeah, so how many days are you actually out there doing endurance stuff? Something we didn't cover.
Should I just take you through my training week?
Yeah, let's do that.
So Monday, upper body heavy, bench, rows, etc. And then run intervals. So either 100, 200, 400 or 800 metre intervals with a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. So for example, if it takes me 15 seconds to do my 100 metre run, I rest for 15 seconds and go again. Usually somewhere between 5 and 10 of those depending on the distance. Tuesday is lower body heavy and then watt bike sprint intervals. So generally squat and deadlift in the same session, then 5 seconds all out sprint on watt bike, and then 55 seconds to recover, 10 of those. Wednesday is swim drills, and then like my shoulder and elbow day, so lots of unconventional exercises to improve shoulder stability and help prevent elbow tendonitis and things like that. Thursday, a watt bike speed workout if I've got the time, so that's focusing typically on cadence, but if I'm low on energy or low on time, that's a session that can drop because I've already done a sprint workout. And then upper body rep work. As I go into competitions, that rep day becomes an accessories day, so things like board presses, spoto presses, things like that. So the weights get more specific depending on the time of the next comp that's coming up.
Yeah.
So if I'm coming up to a triathlon or something, it's a lot of unilateral work, and if it's coming up to powerlifting comp or rugby comp, then it's lots of low reps, strength and power work, barbells, because you can exert more force on a stable object.
Of course, yeah.
Isn't that right, Ty? He said yes. Friday is lower body, again, either rep work or variations, so things like safety bars, sumo deadlifts, block pulls, deficit deadlifts, things like that, RDLs, Nordics. And again, I'll do a watt bike workout if I can. Notice the theme here. Which cardio am I doing most of?
Bike.
What's the longest part of an Ironman?
Is it bike?
It is a bike.
Okay.
Usually be about 6 hours on the bike. And also, what's the lowest impact?
Bike.
Yeah, you could argue swimming, but it's bike. Because you don't do anything with your upper body. So what do I do the most of?
Bike.
I like to ride my bicycle.
Lol.
And then Saturday is a brick session. So that is, if you don't know, that is a bike to run. So the longest one I've done so far was a 40k bike into straight into a 10k run. And then Sunday is my long swim. So then I'll just get in and do either longer intervals, so sort of like 250 to 400 meters, with like 2 minutes rest and repeat, or just go for a swim.
Okay, nice. So I mean, just from looking at that from an outside perspective, just taking a general overview of it, it's quite a lot of volume compared to what a typical strength athlete, or rather.
Hang on, let me just grab up my stats so I can go through a typical. So I track all my training in Excel, and I have volume calculators and stuff in there, take my measurements and stuff like that. So I'm on a new block. I can't bother finding the old block.
Usually I'll hit about 50,000 kilos of weight in a week.
That is absolutely mental.
So what's that? So 50 tons. Yeah. So I'll hit about 50 tons of weights in a week and go anywhere between, depending on how long my long bike ride is, I can be upwards of like 150 kilometers travelled in a week, and that doesn't include dog walks.
That is a lot. So obviously you've built up to that, right?
Kind of, yeah, but kind of no, because I've always played, since I started hitting the gym properly, I've always had 2 hard rugby training sessions of around 2 hours in length, and then a match as well. So you look at that straight away, that's like 5.5 hours of cardio a week, and with the contact and impact, you have to recover from that. And then even when I'm playing rugby, I'll do 3 to 4 weight sessions a week as well.
So you've always had that GPP base?
Yeah. You should just start doing that, don't get me wrong. If you need a coach, I do online coaching. No, seriously, I do, and I'm really good. But you shouldn't just jump in at that. But it's definitely, people underestimate how much volume they can handle.
Yeah.
What people will do instead is do junk volume, which has no purpose. And a lot of my training is actually at quite low intensities. Like if you, my heart rate zone stuff that we've already talked about.
Yeah.
Generally, I try and strike about 80% of my cardio work is that. My weight stuff, most of it will be at RPE 8 or RIR 2 or 3, depending on which system you use. Even the heavier work, and my volume work, a lot of that is at like RIR 3, RPE 7, and it's about stability and movement. So it looks like a lot of volume on paper, but I manage the intensity.
So you're not burning yourself out.
Yeah. If you were training like a typical powerlifter that I seem to see, and you're going to a proper daily max on your squat, bench and deadlift at once, if not more, a week, and then getting close to your max on your rep work, assuming you're training weights 4 times a week, if then you tried to go off and do cardio and you're in the wrong heart rate zones, you'd be done in a couple of weeks. You'd probably be injured. And that's what you see. A lot of these people, like we spoke about earlier, if you train too hard, too heavy, too often, you'll get injured. It happens a lot. Doesn't mean you can't make outstanding progress in that. Doesn't mean you can't be a great lifter doing that. There's loads of different ways to skin a cat, but it means you get injured a lot. And you look at the greatest powerlifters, the ones who've been at it for the longest time.
Ones who
apart from Hicksy.
Yeah.
God, Graham, you just ruined my analogy. Does one comp, best total level from Graham.
But he's been a strength athlete for
yeah, he's been
not ages and ages.
He's always done it though. He's always been in the gym.
Yeah.
Not always. He didn't come out of the womb fucking log pressing 200, did he? But you know what I mean.
Probably did.
Probably did. God, he's strong.
Yeah. So I think the biggest takeaway from that is you can do it too. Don't set your.
You can do it too with can do. was that a nappy or a wipe or something?
It's before my time of parenthood, so I didn't take any notice.
Comment below, listeners, if you know what I'm talking about.
I do remember the jingle though.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do it the correct way, you can add some endurance type stuff in, some other stuff in, without making it deleterious to your strength gains.
Yeah.
Maybe even benefiting them, definitely benefiting them, and enhancing your life too.
You just got to track stuff. Track your recovery. Track your energy levels. Track your weights that you use, and track the cardio that you're doing. Track how things feel. All of these things, I track them on a daily basis, and I respond accordingly to that. I'm less responsive when I'm heading towards a competition, because sometimes you need to be in a state of fatigue.
You've got to do what you've got to do.
Yeah, not even so much that, but you're deliberately trying to cause fatigue.
Yeah.
So the body has to respond to that. You're overreaching is the phrase.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so sometimes you will feel like trash, but then that's a time when you want to feel like trash, so you just get it done. And people don't eat right. They eat too much calorie-rich, nutrient-poor food.
Yeah. So if we gave an example of that, it'd be really easy example, sweets. Sweets which are, for example, like a Haribo. I do have those intra-workouts sometimes.
Your intra-workout isn't actually a bad place to have them, especially when you're heavier. But
it's a good example because micronutrients in there, not very much, but they're pretty.
If you could
very dense with carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. They've not got any real fat in them, but they are barren of micros.
Yeah. If you were able to get the same amount of calories in throughout the day without affecting your performance or body weight or body composition through different carbohydrate sources like rice, white brown doesn't really matter, oats, sweet potato, normal potato, things like vegetables, then
fruit,
fruit, then brilliant, do that instead.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Smith, I think that's a pretty good place to wrap things up. Let's throw some plugs out there for you. In fact, you don't have to plug this one because I can unequivocally say that Lift Gyms is the best gym in Edinburgh.
Scotland.
Pardon?
Scotland.
In Scotland. The best gym in Scotland, so if you find yourself in Scotland one day, maybe you even live there, get yourself down to Lift Gyms, get yourself a membership if you live around here.
Yeah,
really
we do
does have
day
everything.
passes and week passes. And if you're only in town for like a month or something at work, then just come and talk to us. We're not a massive corporate entity, so we can work something out for sure.
Yeah, get yourself down, get yourself joined. And anything else? Your online coaching?
Yeah, so follow me on Instagram at rewind. Take two. Follow me on Instagram at pretty_powerlifter. And slide into my DMs. I've got an app which I do all my online coaching through. And yeah, whatever your goal is, whether that is just strength or whether it's you're a strength athlete and you want to get a bit healthier, just have a chat to me. No pressure. We don't. If you talk to me, it doesn't mean you're automatically my client. Paying me £1,000 a day. Just have a chat to me, and I would love to take on online coaching clients again. Now that the gym is slightly more stable, it's something I've got time to be able to do. So yeah, get in touch. Let's have a talk. Even if it's just for a short block to improve your conditioning, then absolutely, I'd love to work with you.
Thank you, mate. Let's wrap this one up there. It's been great coming up.
Ah. 10 style. Yes.
I definitely out-angled you. Oh no!
Oh,
look at that!
hello.
Oh shit! Oh god! Have you got that? Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate.